Hey everyone, and welcome back to Favorite with Flavor. Today I made meatloaf with gravy. Let me show you how I make this quick and easy meatloaf meal. Come on. So you're going to need 3 eggs, and I use 3 eggs, so 1 egg per pound. You're going to need a pan, some aluminum foil. You're going to need some beef bouillon, some Montreal steak seasoning is what I like to season mine with, some breadcrumbs, some Worcestershire sauce, Worcestershire, salt, pepper, some beefy onion soup mix, a brown gravy packet. I didn't want to make my own gravy today. Some minced garlic, some red bell peppers, green bell peppers, and an onion. But I also did use just a half of red pepper, a half of green pepper, and a half of onion. That's what you need. So what you see here is just me breaking up that roll of meat, okay? I just wanted to break it down so it'd be easier for me to mix through once it's time for me to add everything to it, okay? Now I'm adding in my seasonings, which is just a couple of pinches of salt, some black pepper, that Montreal steak seasoning, and y'all, okay, season this to your preference, okay? It's to your preference. We're going to go in with that onion soup mix, or beefy onion soup mix is what I use. All you need is one package. Now we're going to go in with our breadcrumbs. I used probably like a cup of breadcrumbs initially at the beginning. And now we're going to go in with Worcestershire sauce. Worcestershire. Worcestershire. Y'all get the point. Okay, so now we're adding those eggs. And again, I used 1 egg per pound. I had 3 pounds of ground beef, so that equaled 3 eggs. And all the eggs in, you want to beat it before you put it in there too. But all the eggs in the breadcrumbs is to make sure it binds together. Now you can use cornflakes, you can use Ritz crackers, but this is my method. So now I'm going to go in with just a tablespoon of olive oil here. And now we're going to saute up our veggies. Again, that's a half of onion, half of green bell pepper, and half of red bell pepper. And you want to saute all this together for about 5 to 8 minutes, or until the veggies have become soft. Now we're going to go back in with our minced garlic. You're going to give that a good mix in, and you're going to saute this for another minute. Now you want to remove those veggies to a bowl and set it aside and let it cool off some before you start trying to fold it into the meat. Now we're going to add in those eggs that we lightly beat. And then we're also going to go back in with our veggies too and fold all of this in. You want to make sure you give this a good mix. You don't want to over mix it, because then you'll make your meat a lot tougher. So you want to mix everything in well. I did mix all my seasonings before once, and now I'm mixing it again now that I have the peppers, onions, and the eggs in. And I did end up going back adding just a little bit more of the breadcrumbs, okay? The texture was a little loose for me, so I added probably like another 1/4 cup of breadcrumbs. And now you see me remixing it after I added the 1/4 cup of breadcrumbs to it. So all in all, you'll probably need a cup and a 1/4 cup of breadcrumbs. 1 full cup and a 1/4 cup of breadcrumbs. So now I have my pan, my little baking dish, all lined with foil. I'm gonna form this into a loaf shape. If you have a meatloaf pan, go ahead and put your meatloaf inside of your meat mixture. Put it inside the meatloaf pan. But I don't have a meatloaf pan, so I had a regular baking dish that again I lined with foil. And now I'm gonna cover my meatloaf up. I have it hanging off of both sides, one on the left, one on the right, and I'm gonna fold all of that together and then put it into the oven. I did let all of this, I did let my meatloaf bake for like an hour. I think it baked all together the first time, an hour and 30 minutes total. And I did have my oven preheated to 400 degrees. Again, you just see me here just covering up that meatloaf, making sure it's sealed in tightly, okay? You don't want to put it in the oven with the meatloaf uncovered. You could, but I choose to bake it inside the foil first. So now, after about an hour and 30 minutes, I did remove it and put it back into the oven for another 15 minutes just so it could brown a little more on the top, on the outside of it. So now you saw me, I removed the foil from the pan. I put my meatloaf inside the pan and now I'm just cutting it up. And now we're getting ready to start on our gravy. So I reserved a little bit of the oil from the meatloaf, and that's what's inside my skillet. And I'm sauteing up another half of onion. I sauteed my onions until they were translucent. So now I know you don't have to cook off the flour taste with a gravy packet, but I like to add, when I'm using a gravy packet, I like to add it in with my onions while they're sauteing in a little bit of oil. So now I'm going in with 2 cups of cold water. You want to follow the back of the package. I do have my heat on like a medium low. So if you use the number settings, it's on a 4 right now. So you just want to make sure everything is whisked in nicely and you have no clumps. So, and I'm also going to go in with that beef bouillon. This is just going to add more beefy flavor to our gravy. Whisk that in, give it a good mix. And I'm going to go in with some browning seasoning because I did want this a little bit of a darker color. So I added just a teaspoon or maybe a half a teaspoon of that browning seasoning. You don't need a lot of that browning seasoning or it's going to be real dark, but this is the color that it did come out. And also it was a little loose for me, so I did go in with a cornstarch slurry as well off camera with just a little water and a teaspoon of cornstarch and added it to it. So I just added some salt and I'm going to go back in with some black pepper, a little bit of parsley, and that's just about it. So this is the texture or the looseness that I wanted. It's kind of thick, but it's not too thick and it's not too runny either. It is just right. So now I'm just gonna spread some of this or put a little bit of this gravy on top of the meatloaf. I didn't want to drown it in the gravy. If you know your gravy, it will soak into the meat. And boom, ta-da. This is the finished product. If you guys have not subscribed to my channel, please do hit that like button and leave me a comment. See you next time.